Okay, so today's tomato review is going to be on the Japanese black trifle tomato, or also known as truffle tomato. Alright, so let's take a closer look at the Japanese black trifle tomato. And this is an absolutely gorgeous tomato. And last year, this definitely made it to the top of my top 5 tomatoes. Totally delicious tomato. There is some detachment from the rind on the seeds, but that could be because of the tomato plant dying early, and these were still kind of green when it started dying, so that might have something to do with it. But normally this tomato is an absolutely pretty good producer, produces anywhere between 2 dozen and up on the tomatoes, and they're usually all a pretty good size, you know, maybe even as big as a pear. They get pretty huge, some of them. But that's the inside of it, and just to kind of get a good look at the inside, we'll go over that first, and I'll show you the shape of the tomato. You can see there's wilding in the rind. That's a nice sign. That's a nice healthy heirloom. The core is very symmetric. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. It's very unique, that core. That's a very unique type of core to the tomato. It's like a star. Very beautiful tomato. Like I say, there is some detachment from the rind, but again, that could be because the tomato died early. Alright, that's a good look at that one. And you can see it's a very brown tomato. This is, last year this was like the best tomato out of all my tomatoes. Now they're a little warm because they've been sitting in the sun, and I probably shouldn't have done that, but I did. But if you look closely at it, you can see it's kind of a teardrop shape, and they normally get these little grooves that form down here, and it kind of looks like it looks like a bag filled with water almost. It's the shape of it very unique to this tomato. Now I don't know if its original origin came from Japan, but it's possible. I don't know, but it's a gorgeous tomato nonetheless. And it's got this beautiful copper brown color. And you can see that the seeds do have a kind of a green color in them for the most part. So it's going into that black tomato type of tomato. And it's just a gorgeous tomato. I really wish I got a lot more out of my plant this year. I only got a couple more green ones and the plant's dying. And so I really didn't get anything. So I'll save seeds from this and regrow it from these seeds. And hopefully I get a better production next year. But just an absolutely gorgeous tomato. Alright, so let's give it a bite and see what it tastes like. Wow, that is good. Let me tell you something. The tang on it, first of all, let's go to tang and the sweetness. The tang is probably, I'm going to say about 30, 35, somewhere in there. Tang is just right. And the sweetness is just right behind it. Beautiful match of sweetness, contrast. It's got the perfect flavor of a tomato. It's got that flavor that I'm personally like and I look for when I like to make like salsas and things like that. There's a certain flavor that I look for, and this tomato delivers it every single time under all conditions. Now, in between that, you got the water. It's kind of moist, and it's got the tomato flavor that carries in after the aftertaste of it, that carries in after you eat the tomato, and that tang brings it through. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's a perfect tomato. This tomato this year is a little bit chalky. Again, that might be because these tomatoes have been sitting in the sun, number one, for the last 2 or 3 days, because I took them off and they've just been sitting out. So they've been sitting in the sun and cooking in the sun and everything. So that's probably not what you want to do in general if you're trying to get a good juicy tomato without it getting chalky. But it is a little chalky, but this tomato still is absolutely delicious. Let me take another bite. Oh man, I could eat this tomato literally all day. Put a little salt on it. Let's give it a go. Let me tell you something. I have to save seeds to that, unfortunately, which means when I save my seeds, you ruin the tomato. Because I like to eat the tomato with the seeds on it. So that means I got to get the seeds out, and I'm just left with the rind, which is like, eh. But that's going to be hard for me to do because, let me tell you something. This tomato, for me this year, is definitely ranking as a #1 tomato. It's in my top #1s. This one is definitely, this is up there. This is a must-grow tomato as far as I'm concerned. Anybody who's a tomato lover and you're looking for that perfect sauce, that perfect flavor for your recipes, and you want to kind of just move around with different tomato flavors, that is it right there. That is the tomato, guys. This tomato beats all my tomatoes. All of them. The Kellogg's tomato, the Boxcar Willie. This tomato is literally coming in at #1. I absolutely love the taste of this tomato. Oh man, this is absolutely that good. Perfect flavor. Has a perfect aftertaste, perfect moisture. Yeah, it was a little chalky at this time, but they're not normally chalky like that. It's chalky because either the plant died early or I put it in the sun for the last 3 days, and it's something probably like that. But most of the time, this tomato is absolutely delicious. We'll cut this one open too because I just simply got to have another piece, to tell you the truth. Yeah, I can see it's a little chalky, but this is much better developed. Get you close. Okay, I got to put my hands like that so the camera focuses. Oh man, you have no idea how good this is of a tomato. I will tell you though, the skins were tough on this. They were definitely a little tough. Again, that's probably because of the environmental conditions. But outside of that, there's no way you're going to go wrong with this tomato. This tomato definitely ranks as a #1. Now that second bite, that one almost had a little bit of a peach flavor to it. A little slight taste, a little bit like peach. Very slightly, a little quick taste of it. And it's still tasted, then the tomato flavor comes back in, and you know. But man, let me tell you guys, you never grown a Japanese trifle tomato, you gotta grow this one. This is the tomato to eat, let me tell you. If I had a choice out of all my tomatoes that I grow 150 varieties of tomatoes. Out of all my tomatoes, if you were to say which is the one that you would ultimately pick, if you could only pick one to grow, it would definitely be this tomato. This is it. This is like my #1 choice probably for the whole year. So far, nothing has ever beaten this tomato right from the start. Now I'm talking about larger tomatoes, like you'd make sauces and cook with and salads and things. Now I'm not talking about cherry or currant tomatoes or anything like that. Any of those smaller tomatoes really are in a class of their own because they're just a different type of tomato completely. You can't really compare those two. But if you were to say which of the bigger tomatoes, you know, slicers, beefsteaks, giant tomatoes, which of those tomatoes would you pick if you only could pick one? That is it right there. That is my #1 choice. That is what I would pick if I could only grow one tomato. It would be this one. This tomato has always delivered an absolutely delicious flavor for me. Right from day one, the first year I grew this, it has produced not only large quantities of tomatoes, but the best tasting tomatoes I ever had. I kind of was really, some years I didn't want to look at it like my #1 because I was so heartbroken that I actually beat like the Kellogg's tomato or I beat the Boxcar Willie. And it's like I didn't want to name it #1 because I wanted those tomatoes to be like my #1 tomato. But unfortunately, I can't do that anymore. It has to be this tomato. This tomato just really causes your mouth to salivate just right. You don't over salivate. You're not sick. It just makes you salivate, and it draws you into the tomato again and again. Like I say, I got to save seeds to this tomato. I'm going to have a hard time saving the seeds to this thing because I'm going to want to eat it. And I need the seeds for next year. It's very important I grow tomato from year to year to year with the new seed. That way they become more productive, they become more stabilized, and so on and so on. But anyway, that's my review for the Japanese black trifle. Is it the Japanese trifle? Japanese, I'll put the right name in the description. I don't remember if it's black trifle. I think it's Japanese black trifle or truffle tomato. I'll leave you links in the description below if you want to go and check out the seeds. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you on the next one. Take care.